Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and thank you for allowing us to come into your listening and viewing environment. We are here with you every Monday through Friday from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurships. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships, whatever's in your heart, whatever's on your mind. God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable artesian aquifer, where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the Give segment of our app at New Life-Delaware, and those of you that have made a weekly or monthly commitment to support the broadcast by giving on the contribution pages of our websites at NewLifeMinistriesInternational.com and NewLifeInternationalCDC.com, and those of you who are using the QR code or the link provided on Facebook and YouTube to support the broadcast, we thank all of you for your commitment and for your support as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. It is our goal that you will have a place to go to receive daily divine direction so that we know how to navigate the issues of life that we find challenging or that we find difficult to navigate. And we are Facebook Live every day. We are YouTube Live at Daily Divine Direction. And we are asking that you stay connected with us. We want to keep you encouraged. We want to keep you empowered. We want to keep you inspired through our internet radio station, WKAP Faith Empowerment Radio, where you can tune in at WKAPfaith.com. We play music all day long, all night long, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Music that will encourage you, empower you, and inspire you to become the best version of ourselves that we can possibly become. And so, this week we have been really dealing with a lot of issues regarding relationships because we just got overloaded with relationship issues, and many of you have sent in more, so we'll eventually get to those also. But there's a couple of other topics that have been coming in also, and I want to make sure that we get a few of them in this week. But before I do that, I am going to get back to the relationship issues because one of our listeners and viewers indicated that your husband recently told you that he wants a divorce. And you said that you're really not interested in being divorced, and you want to know how you can get him to understand that the differences that you've had, the challenges that you've had in your marriage is not something that is worth getting divorced over. So let me say this to you. The important thing is to sit down and have a conversation, because I will say this, most often, and I'll probably get some emails about this and some texts, and you can always communicate with me, as you know, at newlifepastor@comcast.net, and you can always text me on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. I love hearing from all of you, so I'm not going to shy away from this, and I'm going to make this comment, and I want everyone to be mindful that there are exceptions to every rule, but it's not the rule. Men do not traditionally desire to file for divorce. That's not the way we're wired. It is generally because either the wife has expressed that she wants a divorce, or the wife has filed for a divorce. Now, depending on the dynamics of the finances of the family, sometimes the male will file for a divorce and take appropriate actions to make certain that the family's provided for, whatever the case may be. There are exceptions to every rule, but generally, men are not going to be the ones looking to file for a divorce. It's generally the wife who will file for a divorce for whatever her reasons may be. When a man files for a divorce, it's because in his mind, the marriage can no longer continue. Now, your situation is a little different because your husband has told you he wants a divorce. And it's not anything that's tragic that should result in a divorce. It's that sometimes we make things, all of us as human beings, we make things bigger than what they need to be. So having said that, your husband has decided in his mind that he wants to be single again because he doesn't, not because of the singleness, it's his opinion that you don't really want to be married to him. That's the problem he's having. The problem is he doesn't feel appreciated. The problem is, and these are all things, these are all reality to him. He doesn't feel appreciated. He feels like you don't really care if you're married to him or not. So his thing is, and this is the conversation the brief conversation that the two of you had. His thing is, if you don't want to be married to him, he'll just go and be single. You have to realize that stems from the lack of communication of the importance of your marriage. So if he doesn't feel, let me rephrase that, because he doesn't feel that your marriage is important to you, he's now decided it really isn't important if you remain married. The issue that you have is that your children are just getting to the point where come next year, you'll have one that's graduating, and the year after that, you'll have, 2 years after that. So you've got one that's a senior now that'll be graduating in the coming spring season, and you've got one that's a sophomore, which means they'll be a rising junior. It will not be long before you've empty nested. And the question then becomes, what does it look like at home? So he's doing what would be called a preemptive action. His mind, perception sometimes then over time becomes reality. So in his mind, one's going to graduate in the spring. He knows the divorce will take, a period of time. Then you only have one at home. And then when the youngest of the two graduates from high school and goes off to college also, it's just you and him. And he's telling you that he doesn't feel that it matters to you if the two of you remain married or not. So he's got in his mind that being single might be better than living together, being husband and wife, when there's just the two of you in the household. This happens to a lot of people. Let me say this. A lot of people, when they empty nest, they use the term, we've outgrown one another. They use the term that you know, there's no longer any reason to be married when your children have gone off to college and now are becoming adults. There's a lot of components to that don't really make sense because, you know, when you look at the big picture of things, married people live longer, married people have a better quality of life, married people, first and foremost, have made a commitment to the covenant of marriage. There's a lot of components, but 50% of America gets divorced. But you now realize that you don't really want to be divorced. You want to continue your life the way it is. So what you're going to find necessary to do is sit down and have a conversation with your husband and explain to him how important your marriage is to you and how important he is to you. And once you've had that conversation, he'll get a better understanding that it does matter to you if the two of you remain married. It does matter to you that you do not get divorced. It does matter to you that he is important to you. And once you have that conversation and he gets a better understanding of that, then the two of you will find a way to move forward. That's his only issue. You know, based on your communication, and I was prayerful for you both because I know that God will give you the strength to strengthen your marriage to the point where you can continue building the life that God has purposed for the two of you, and continue guiding your children as a married couple as opposed to watching over them because they now have two individual parents. So I think it's, you know, in our society, it's real easy. It's easy to make the decision that you don't want to be married anymore. You know, when you have assets, there's ways to divide them. It's a lot of work, but there are ways to divide them, or there's ways to separate yourself from them. But you have to ask yourself, and hopefully you'll share this with your husband, this broadcast today. You have to ask yourself, is it really worth it? Is it really worth starting all over again? Is it really worth, if there's no abuse in the marriage and there's no, you know, you really have an affection for one another, you love one another as husband and wife, but you also have to know that you are appreciated, both of you. Not just, you know, there's an old adage, because you made reference to a couple of things in your communication, and there is an old adage that people have bought into because society, once again, has taught us this: happy wife, happy life. That's not true. Happy spouse, happy house. That means there's two people. Both of you are spouses. Both of you need to be happy. Both of you need to be content when you are at home together, regardless of your children, aside from your children, because they're going to grow up. You know, they're getting close to the point where they're going to be out of the house, and you have to be able to enjoy the life that the two of you have built after they're gone. We sometimes seem to forget that children are going to grow up, go off and begin their own lives. You'll see them when they see you. What is life going to be like for the two of you once they're gone? And that's why it's important to appreciate one another. That's why it's important to love and appreciate one another, because that's how marriages sustain themselves, so that you can enjoy your great quality of life. Because in the end, if it comes to an end, you're both starting all over again, and you've got to ask yourselves, what is that going to look like for you? Being single individuals again. When you've been very clear that there's no real problem. May not be perfect. Marriage is not perfect. But, however, you've got to ask yourselves, what does it look like being alone when you are with someone that you've built a great life with? You love one another, you have created this life for yourselves. Are you willing to give that all up and start all over? He's wrapping his head around, he'll have to give that up. It's not because he wants to. It's because he feels he has to. Because he feels it doesn't make any difference to you. Well, you have to set aside what society's been telling us, and you have to just maybe take a moment to say, I appreciate you. I want us to be married. I don't want us to get a divorce, and let's move forward, because there's nothing else going on. We don't need to create problems. You know, this is what's interesting to me, is that sometimes if we can't find a problem, we'll create a problem. Now, I realize problems do occur because life happens to us all, but in the end, as long as you're in good health, and as long as there's no violence or no abuse, and you have love and respect, you can make it work. You can not make it a job, but you can make it work. Have a conversation. Sit down and communicate. And just express how important, both of you, express how important the life that you built together truly is to you both. And it will be well with your souls. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. So if you're not currently a T-Mobile customer, you may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you may become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest, fastest, and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you struggle with the mundane, so I'm going to get through a couple of other communications today. You struggle with doing the mundane task daily, and you want to know how can you get more spontaneity in your life. This is an interesting question because I have to remind you and all of our listeners and viewers that living your life to be spontaneous is not living a life of order. It's living a life of chaos, which eventually will result in disruption. People don't understand that because, once again, society's got us confused into believing certain things about life. And one of the things that they have us believing is that we got to have some excitement, we've got to have some spontaneity, we've got to have, I gotta have some action going on. That's chaos. That's not order. there's a scripture in the Bible that says that God will order your steps. There's a reason that it says order your steps. And that's because God is a God of order. God does everything decently and in order. Everything that God, from the very beginning, let me kind of break this down for all of us. From the very beginning, everything God did, he did with order. If you go all the way back to the very beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth, when the earth was without form and void, God created by saying, "Let there be light." There was a bang. And the result of that was that God created order for 6 days. On the seventh day, it was a day of rest. That too was order. Then he goes through the process of creating man and then giving man a woman so that we could be fruitful, we could multiply, and we could replenish the earth. God is a God of order. He said, man takes a wife. When he finds a wife, he finds a good thing and obtains favor of the Lord. Once again, there's order. God is not the author of confusion, but of peace. Once again, there's order. If we're not living our lives with order, we are living our lives in chaos. If we're living our lives in chaos, it will result in the disruption of the quality of our lives. We have to understand how important it is to set aside all of the glitz and the glamour of life, or what we perceive to be the glitz and glamour of life. We want to be spontaneous. You know, if you're being spontaneous, you cannot maximize every hour of the day, because what that means is you're going to respond to whatever you're feeling. Whatever you're feeling at any particular given moment, you're going to respond. And if something makes you feel good, that's what the result is of spontaneous combustion, for lack of a better term. It's going to, I know when you think of that, you think of blowing up. But the reality is that the more we're searching to feel good for the moment, being spontaneous about anything, we're not maximizing the time of every day. And we all get the same amount of time, because what you're looking for is a moment of good feeling. You're looking for a moment that will make you feel good and give you some form of immediate gratification. What we want is order, not chaos. What we want is consistency. We don't want disruption. So let me give you an example of this. And if someone sends you flowers to the office and they've never done that before, that would be a spontaneous gesture. You look at the flowers and it makes you feel good and you love the flowers. But if they're not going to send you flowers every day, those are only going to last for a moment. However, if you're someone who likes flowers, so I'll let you in my world. My wife loves plants and flowers. Okay, we have a joke in our household about plants and flowers. She buys flowers every week. She's not looking for me to go buy flowers. She's not looking for me to go pick flowers. But she's going to have flowers in our home every week. She's going to have plants in our home, plants that have been with us for decades. They're still alive. She takes care of her plants. And her plants last. They're not spontaneous. They're not, oh, today I'm just going to buy a plant because it's going to make me feel good, or I'm going to buy flowers, or I want you to buy me flowers because it's going to make me feel good. It's just she likes flowers and plants. She has a green thumb. She's very good at it. It's not my thing, but it's her thing. And that makes her enjoy the quality of life that we have at home. So she's always going to have flowers and plants in the house every week. Some plants have been with us for a very long time, meaning literally decades. And then there's always those flowers that will be around the house to give that aromatherapy, for lack of a better term. But that's her thing. My thing is, I prefer to run and play golf. She's a runner also. She's learning to play golf also. But I'm saying that to say we have to do everything decently in order. I would love to play golf every day, but I don't live in a climate that I can play golf every day. At least I can't, because it's cold. You got to look at what really adds to your quality of life consistently over a longer period of time. Not just what you want for right now. Not just, I want to take the rest of the day off and go do what I want to do, or take the rest of the afternoon off and go shopping, because you might say that's spontaneous. I say that will eventually create chaos. And the reason is because later, you're not going to feel so good when you realize that you spent more money than you really intended to spend on some things, some items. Everything has to mean something. Everything we do has to mean something. Now, I've resigned to the fact that, because I understand that, plants give off energy. They're good for the environment also. So I'm okay with it. It's not my thing. I wouldn't, if it weren't for my wife, every plant that is in our home would be dead in a week, because I wouldn't remember to water it. The point is, everything we do, we have to do in order. So she's up very early in the morning before she begins her business day, watering her plants, because that's what she likes to do. But she has a great quality of life doing it. It's not about being spontaneous. It's about and creating chaos. It's about having order, and it can be the simplest of things, or it can be much larger things. But in the end, the goal is to have order, not chaos, not disruption. We've got to do a better job of managing our lifestyle in every facet. And we've got to look at all of these things. So when you say you're looking for some spontaneity, you're looking for somebody else to participate in that. That's never going to be consistent, because nobody's going to consistently be spontaneous. You're struggling with the mundane task of the day because you want to be doing something else when those things have to be done. Those daily tasks have to be fulfilled. We've got to make certain that everything that God has assigned us to do daily gets done. That's how we have order in our lives. Remember, I took you all the way back to Genesis. The first day he created, the second day he created, the third day he created, the fourth day he created, the fifth day he created, the sixth day he created, the seventh day he rested. It's order. There's a reason we have 7 days in a week. It's order. There's a reason we have 12 months in a year. It's order. There's a reason that we have 365 days in a year. There's a reason for everything. And when you start injecting spontaneity into the equation, it's going to cause some disruption, because it's going to create some chaos. The last thing you want to do is create chaos. God didn't create chaos. God created, but he created order. This segment of the broadcast has been brought to you by Charles Terrett, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at their retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. And The White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. They have everything. Home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And as always, 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, has been brought to you by Fiji Water. A taste of paradise will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you will save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. May God bless you today. May God keep his face turned towards you, and may God give you peace that surpasses all understanding. Have a great day today. I look forward to being in your